Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the West Lindsey series. This is one of the 9 districts of Lincolnshire and one of the county's most rural. It has 128 civil parishes. Let's see which one this episode's all about. Good morning everybody, welcome back to West Lindsey. Now today you find me in a village which is, generally speaking, new housing. I'm starting in its oldest part though, right here. I'm outside the church. So we're going to deal with this bit first and then walk around all these newer areas. Most of this village has gone up in the last 20 or 30 years, maybe a bit longer than that. But certainly it's newer than the part I'm standing in right now. And that new housing continues to be built. If I can show you what I've got a good view of here, there's some eco housing being built along here, just opposite the church. 5 large eco homes, 5 beds and double garages apparently. That's quite something, isn't it? And you'll find all of this in the parish of Sudbrooke. The West Lindsey series is sponsored by Gaines Recycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop, located at 20 Ropery Road or online at gainesrecycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gaines Recycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. And this video is also sponsored by Jamie's Fitness Studio, based on Low Road, Grayingham, near Curtin in Lindsey. Jamie is one busy lady. Check her out by calling 07906 749 574 or emailing hello@jamies.co.uk. Online membership is available. There's a link to her Facebook page in the description. Jamie's Fitness Studio. Get fit, get happy, get healthy. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome to Sudbrooke, which is the perfect example of a 20th century commuter village. Sited on the A158, the former Roman road that ran from Lincoln to Burgh le Marsh in East Lindsey, Sudbrooke is overwhelmingly residential. Largely empty during the day, the village is ideally situated for those who earn their living in the city of Lincoln. You might think then, given it's so modern, that it has very little to offer. It would be wrong to make that assumption though. The parish boundaries actually cover 2 ancient villages. One of them is of course Sudbrooke, which developed around what we know today as Church Lane. The other is, or was, Holme. Holme no longer exists. It was mentioned in records in 1334, but there's now no trace of it. It was located between what is now Main Drive and Home Drive in the modern Sudbrooke village. However, Holme's name would live on thanks to one of the Lincoln area's grandest properties, which itself no longer stands. In communal terms, Sudbrooke offers few amenities. There's no school and there's only one local shop. It does have a church, a village hall, a playing field and a couple of playgrounds though, and it's all sited around a woodland featuring a few water features. Look out too for the Millennium Stone on the village green. It's got a fascinating story connected to the Lincolnshire Wolds. This is Sudbrooke then folks, let's take a look. We begin at Sudbrooke's church. Dedicated to St Edward the Confessor, it's a fairly modern building, having been erected in 1860. It was designed by John Dobson of Newcastle upon Tyne. It's a Grade 2 listed building and was built for 2 reasons. Firstly, it was to replace an older brick building, possibly itself a successor to an even older Norman church. Secondly, it was built as a memorial to Richard Ellison. There's some more coming on him in a short while. Its gates were interesting. There's two. One's called Mabel's Gate, the other the Jennings Gate. Presumably, they're named in memory of local residents. Directly opposite the church are those eco-houses. They're not cheap. According to On the Market, they're going for around £750,000 at present. That's a bit steep, isn't it? Otherwise, this part of Sudbrooke is its oldest and most ancient, and features buildings like this, the 19th century manor farmhouse. So we're not far away from the church, and already we're starting to hit some of the new, more modern housing that's been here since about 1980, 1990. Not sure when this was built. This is Manor Farm Courtyard and Manor Court, but most of the village looks something akin to this. Not exactly the same, obviously. You'll see what I mean when we eventually get into the main sort of meat of it. But our next location is to go towards the village hall. So it's down the end of Church Lane and take a left turn, and it should be right there in front of me. On the road towards Scothan, you'll come across Sudbrooke Village Hall. The only communal space in the village, it can hold up to 150 people. The hall has a parish notice board, and you all know this drill by now. That's Sudbrooke in the books, and West Lindsey has just 18 remaining. One thing the village isn't short of is public rights of way. This handy map next to the board is a little outdated, but it shows you some of them around here. Behind these trees to the north of the village hall is Poacher's Lane, with Sudbrooke's playing field on the opposite side. The hall is also right next to one of the village's two children's playgrounds and this hard surface multi-use games area. The children here have got plenty. Let's move away from this area now and head up West Drive. This is a private road, but pedestrian access is allowed. Time to see some housing. So now we're hitting the main sort of housing area here in Sudbrooke, and it's surprising with the amount of properties you'll find in this village, how little it's got in terms of amenities. It relies a lot on some of the other villages around, such as Netlham and Welton, and even Scothan to an extent, because Sudbrooke doesn't have a pub, believe it or not. Anyway, let's carry on into the housing estates. Most of Sudbrooke was built from the 1970s onwards, and it's quite expansive. The oldest section of the village near the church is tiny compared to this vast suburban sprawl. Sudbrooke is a fine example of a modern commuter village, with most of its residents working in Lincoln. If you turn onto Elm Drive, you'll find yourself crossing a stream. Now this doesn't have a name, but as you'll see shortly, water is a key feature in Sudbrooke. Stay with me on that one. Where Elm Drive meets Home Drive is the only area of shops within the main body of the village. Side note, there are a couple of others on the outskirts, but I'll show you those later. This little group is pretty much just a local shop and a hair salon. Given how big this place is, this will never go out of business, that's for sure. On the shop's wall you'll find a map of Sudbrooke, which pretty much shows you the entire village. However, this map has clearly been here for some time. So this map is actually quite handy because it'll show you the extent of the housing we have here in Sudbrooke. So as you can see, we are here on this corner where Elm Drive meets Home Drive. That's where the shops are, and you can see just it really is in the middle of a massive housing estate. I've basically come down here through this area here. I know I haven't gone down these streets, but you know, what am I going to see up there? Let's be honest with you, it's all housing, and it's the same down here. This is all housing too, but I am going to walk back through this bit later. Now this map is a little bit out of date because there is another area of housing up here now. This is not what it looks like now. This is all housing too. West Drive continues, and there's a new area just here, and in between the two there's a big wood, and that is what I'm heading for next. If you continue through the housing by walking up Holme Drive, the woods in the distance grow ever closer. That's where we're headed. A small path off Holme Drive, which leads back over the stream to Broaddale Close, will take you past Sudbrooke's other playground, this one right on the wood's edge. Now the wood, as far as I can tell, doesn't have a name, so I've rather loosely termed this section Sudbrooke Wood. It's crisscrossed with some of those footpaths we spoke about earlier, and right in the middle is a decent-sized lake. The wood and the water you see here all once formed part of Sudbrooke Park. The wood was planted as a physical barrier protecting what used to be on the other side. Today it's a magnificent and natural community asset. To exit the wood, we cross another stream. This one goes by two names. Some call it the Great Beck, whilst others refer to it as Netherland Beck. So we've emerged from the wood and we're at that new area of housing that I was talking about earlier. Now, not all of this is marked on the map yet. Even if you look on Google Maps, you'll see bits of it are, but not all of it. And certainly what you can see on the camera behind there, not all of that is on the map yet, but of course it will be at some point. This area is also going to get a pub as well, so what I said earlier about Sudbrooke relying on other places for a pub, well, that soon won't be true, because apparently, according to the sign that's just there, Sudbrooke is going to get a pub and restaurant. It's about time when you think about it, because it's big enough to have one, really, isn't it? So yeah, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing for the village. So what did this area used to be then, before it was all housing? Well, that is the subject of today's special section. This area was once the site of a massive mansion, and it was called Sudbrooke Home. It was first occupied by the Ellisons. First came Richard Ellison Sr., a banker who helped restore the Fosdyke Canal, allowing barges to carry goods to and from Lincoln. He would be succeeded by his son, Richard Jr. The Ellisons originated from the Isle of Axholme. The house was elaborate and stylish, and was one of the largest and most impressive country houses anywhere in the Lincoln area. Its grounds included an ornamental lake, which still exists today. It was famous for its library of bookcases made to the designs of the acclaimed 18th century architect Robert Adam. It had 28 bedrooms, which were decorated in the Adam style with beautiful ceilings. Later owners of the house included the Pelhams and the Sibthorpes, the latter of whom have a street named after them in the village. The house no longer stands, as it was demolished in 1920. So the rest of the walk is pretty much a gentle stroll down St Edward's Drive. Again, it's another area that's wholly residential. We'll emerge at the other end, back on Scothan Lane, where our final landmark is the village green. Now, because this is generally bereft of any other quirky features, I've got the perfect opportunity here to mention Sudbrooke's apparent involvement in World War II. It's thought that somewhere within the village there was once a searchlight battery, but that's never been confirmed. Earthworks, consisting of 4 small circular enclosures, were mapped from poor quality air photographs during the 1990s. That's all the information I could find about it, but if anyone else knows anything about it, please do let me know in the comments down below. We've arrived at the village green, and it's quite the sizable effort, this one. Part of it is known as the Jubilee Garden, and that's not all it's got either. So there's a couple of things to note on this little green. For a start, we've got these. Look at these carvings. One of a bird here, and I think it's a hare underneath. These are like little seats. There's an owl on that one. There's a plane on this one. And on this one here, in front, it's not a seat, but it's like a little ladybird, I think. And there's another group of them over here. Let's see what's on these. So we've got a frog. Are these characters from Winnie the Pooh? Possibly. What do you think? Possibly, aren't they? Not totally sure. It's an elephant on that one. Maybe they're... I don't know what they are. But they're nice anyway, don't get me wrong. They're really good. There's another one over here as well. And that looks like Paddington Bear. Interesting. I wonder what the story is behind those. Who knows? Also, if we wander through here, you can see there's a another carving here. It says Sudbrooke at the top. I'm back to front here. If we can get around the other side, you'll see it says it the right way around. Isn't this just amazing? Sudbrooke at the top there, in between two bits of wood that have been carved. Looks like a massive catapult, doesn't it? That's actually really good. So apparently this is a wildlife area next to it, or wildflower area should I say, wildflower area. Always good to see them. And then opposite all of this, at the end of Holme Drive, there's this big boulder. Now what's this? Oh, it's a war memorial. You can tell because there's a poppy wreath there, look. Let's have a look. Oh, hang on. It's a war memorial, yes, but it's also the Sudbrooke Millennium Stone. This Jurassic Age sandstone boulder was transported from the Lincolnshire Wolds to Sudbrooke more than 300,000 years ago by a massive ice sheet that reached from the North Pole to the present-day site of London. During the journey, it was both scratched by being dragged over harder rocks and smoothed and polished by meltwaters beneath the base of the ice. Donated by the Massey family in 2000. There you go. How about that for a story? Brilliant. A boulder that came from the Wolds ended up here in Sudbrooke, and apparently now it's a village landmark. Awesome, absolutely awesome. Okay, so from here it's just a simple case of walking back up this road towards the area where the church is. You can see those eco houses where we began in the very far distance over there, so it's just a simple case of walking back up there to the beginning. Just before we leave Sudbrooke behind, I need to show you what you can find on and just off the A158, which acts as the southern parish boundary. First of all, Cherry Tree Garden Centre. This occupies the site of the former Cherry Tree Cafe, which closed in 2020. This has been open since 2022 under the watchful management of the Frecklingtons, a couple from Lincoln with more than 25 years of experience managing garden centres. Lastly, a drive up the A158 eastbound will take us out of the village. Keep your eyes to the left and you might spot the gate lodges and gate piers which once stood at the entrance to Sudbrooke Holme. Also on the left as you exit civilization is Barber's Garage. Established in 1939, it's good for vehicle servicing, repairs and MOTs. It used to sell fuel until 2022 as well, but its pumps are now dry. That's been Sudbrooke, folks. Time for TVI to move on to the next one in the series. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.